Hello and welcome to the Lucy Buxton and Tim Dallinger show. This is our first episode. So, hi Lucy.
Hiya Tim, how you doing?
I'm good. So we should explain really why we are here. So do you want to explain why we're even doing this?
Well, I suppose we need to put out a really big thank you to Jonathan from the Care Managers Inner Circle, because a few weeks ago we were on a panel discussion with him, and we just developed the Lucy and Tim show.
We did, and I think at some point, I don't think Jonathan knew what had hit him, but we started off with 8 people in our audience. And we ended up with about 40 people. It was a bit like a Seaside Punch and Judy show, wasn't it? They just sort of gathered around.
It was. We even had Jonathan pretending to be a frog on a lily pad at one point in time, which...
I don't know why he was being a frog. I can't remember.
No, I'm not so sure.
I do know that the Care Show videoed all of the presentations, and he was captured on film pretending to be a frog.
Think we probably need to see if we can get our hands on that
at some point on a future episode. Maybe we'll invite Mr. Cunningham.
I think that'd be a good idea.
And he could explain himself.
Have you told him we're doing this?
No, I haven't told him we're doing this at all. So the first he's going to know about this is when we put it on social media platforms, including the Care Managers Inner Circle on Facebook.
How hilarious. Because he actually said, you two should do a show.
He did say that we should
we're doing a show.
And then a few WhatsApp messages and backwards and forwards.
And here we are.
We even wrote some topics that we were going to talk about, didn't we?
We did.
No, let me rephrase that. I wrote some topics and you said that's very good.
I did. And I said, can you give me 5 minutes to actually read them and have the time to type back messages? Because with my menopausal brain, I hadn't even read the first 3 topics before you'd sent me another 17. I think we've got 10 months worth of topics.
About a year's worth.
So what are we going to actually be talking about, Tim?
We're going to talk today, I think, about not putting all your eggs in one basket.
I think that's a really good idea. But actually, what are we going to talk about on the channel?
Oh, what we're going to talk about on the channel? We're going to talk about the care sector.
We are.
We're going to comment on the care sector. But also we're going to make it amusing. We're going to make it entertaining. But most of all, we want to be informative. We want to inspire people. And we want to make people think. But we don't want to be boring. Because this could be so boring, couldn't it?
It is. You know, it's tough in social care sometimes. And I think one of the things is you've just got to be able to have a laugh sometimes. Which probably brings me on to what we're going to talk about tonight, about not putting all your eggs in one basket. So I need to confess.
Go on then, confession session.
I've been a bad girl.
Are you on the naughty step?
I am seriously on the naughty step. I am locked out of LinkedIn. I'm in LinkedIn jail.
And apparently I hear this is not the first time. No. You are a serial offender.
I am, and it wasn't intentional. However, I hadn't done my homework. And I hadn't understood how the algorithm works. And because lots of people wanted to connect with me, and I thought I'll be proactive, I invested in an automated software, and LinkedIn doesn't like this. So it would appear that's potentially why I've been put on the naughty step. But it actually got me thinking, because, you know, you joined this call and started to pull my leg and tease me. But I actually started to think, hang on a minute, we can relate this to social care.
Certainly can. And I was having a conversation as I was driving home this evening with one of my clients. And my client owns a domiciliary care agency. But he used to contract with the local authority. And all he wanted was to get a local authority contract. And he did. But then all of his business became local authority. But then he said, I'm not doing care visits of less than 30 minutes. Not enough time. And because he's in Wales, there's actually a bit of legislation that actually says domiciliary care visits shouldn't be less than 30 minutes unless certain criteria. And it's a bit wishy-washy criteria. But he fell out with the local authority. But he fell out with his customer. The customer. And of course, if you fall out with your main only customer, what's going to happen to your business?
You end up on the naughty step like me, or you lose your business overnight.
You have to spend some time sat on the naughty step, out in the cold and the dark, and then he have to start again.
Yeah.
But he's not going for the one customer anymore. He's got 45 customers now. They're all privately funded, self-funded people. And he's got a diverse portfolio of customers.
So I guess earlier on this year, when my first offence occurred, I didn't like it. I don't know, I've been on LinkedIn, I suppose, probably getting on 10 years now, or from when it first was a platform. But I then had to do my homework to realise that I needed to take whatever data that was on there and have it, and then to start fishing in other ponds.
Interesting you should mention that. When I heard via other social media platforms that you'd been on the naughty step, I was quickly searching, how do I download my LinkedIn account? And you can do it.
You can.
You've got to go at the top to where it says me. Then you click on there, then you do something with data, and you just basically download the whole lot, and they send you an email when you can download it.
Yeah.
And if you're on LinkedIn, guys, and you are potentially thinking of being naughty like Lucy was, accidentally, second time, then download your data. Because if they do shut you out, you've lost everything. Yeah. Every connection, every post. I'm not helping, am I, Lucy?
It's absolutely fine, you know, because I had that really bad emotional feeling a couple of days ago. But actually, I kind of, I thought about it. And for those who know me, I have to look at things from different perspectives and kind of explore other ideas and challenge my thinking. And I'm not going to sit in that. I'm not going to sit in those feelings on that bottom step for too long. And because I'd got this data, and I just thought, you know what? Actually, there's a lesson in this. There's a lesson that if I share it, other people can learn. And it is about ensuring that you don't lose your business just overnight. It's ensuring that I didn't sit and wallow. So a couple of people I'd had a chat to have put posts out and said, you can contact Lucy here. We've laughed about it. She's been naughty. She's in jail. And that's only the same as a business where they think that their ideal client is through a local authority route or an ideal client of a certain age,
But you look in the forums on Facebook, people, I want to start a domiciliary care agency. How do I get on a framework contract? And I'm like, why do you want to get on a framework contract? Why do you want to put all those eggs in the one basket? Mm-hmm. But it's the same with what we do in the day job. So I do training and consultancy, you do coaching and some consultancy. What if we just had one client?
Yeah. And that client closes their business tomorrow, you have no business.
And I saw this when I was a care provider. So I was a provider of residential care for people with learning disabilities and mental health needs. But then about 12, 15 years ago, local authorities started to change. They didn't want to commission residential care. They wanted to commission supported living. And your business model, it disappears. And I had 4 residential care homes, all in the same town, contracting to mostly the local authority we were located in. So I was in that position.
That's scary because that's just your income stream for your entire business from one council, not 3 councils, 1.
Yeah.
That's frightening. So do you think, right, it's about what can we do to ensure we're not in this position? So
I think, so talking sensibly now, this has got to go in people's business continuity plan. Along with all of the other stuff about electricity and COVID and snow. Not going to be any of that anymore, is there? It's going to be heat waves.
Yeah, or floods.
But you got to put in losing your business, losing the clients. You've also got to put in, and we'll talk about this on another episode probably, you've got to put in regulators and contract monitoring officers, because they're a risk to your business. And then we've got to mitigate that risk. And it's simple, isn't it? If you've got a small number of clients, there's only one way to mitigate that risk. You need more clients.
You do. Do you know what?
Go on.
This makes me think of something, right? Have I got it here? I have. Right, hang on a minute. I'm coming back.
This is one she prepared earlier. I'm now going to fill in while she comes back with one she prepared earlier.
Right. I haven't actually, but this reminds me of something. Who's read this book?
I haven't read that book.
Oh my God, this is the best book ever. Who Moved My Cheese? It's about mice.
Okay.
And it's ultimately, it's a metaphor for going out into the world and finding new things that you can relate to different things. But it's about a load of mice who fundamentally, somebody someday moved their cheese. And there's some mice that go back to the same place all the time to find the cheese. It's just never there. So that's like the providers that always keep going back to the local authority, expecting them to have a new person for them. And there's just not one there. And then there's the other mice that think, well, actually, maybe I should look for cheese, really. But actually, I'm really comfortable looking at the cheese over here. So I'm going to keep going back there. And then it talks about the process of going and changing your thinking and how to go out and find new cheese. And then there's the mice that go out and find new cheese. So when I first got locked out of LinkedIn, I thought, this is horrendous. What am I going to do? You know, proper drama. So I went to look for new cheese. So I started to look for new cheese in other social media platforms. I downloaded my data. I thought, right, bit of risk management, you know. And then I started to look at fishing in other ponds. And how do I find new cheese?
We're talking about fishing for cheese now.
Yeah. It's on the end of a hook for a fish. Would they eat it?
You can actually. You can. I do go fishing, and you can use cheese as bait for fish.
Mm-hmm. So maybe there's something in that. The fact that providers, if they're constantly looking for cheese in one place, eventually the cheese is going to be all eaten up. And their business needs to be evolving and changing. And, you know, a bit like a French cheese market, you've got to make sure you've got some Stilton, a bit of Camembert, a bit of...
Stilton in a French cheese market.
Oh, I don't know. I don't eat cheese. So I do cheddar.
You're teaching people about cheese and you don't eat cheese. And you've just said a French cheese market with Stilton in.
Is Stilton not French?
No, Stilton isn't French.
Where's it from then?
Stilton. You know, there are loads of people now.
Hang on a minute. I could start talking about...
idiots. It's English, I think.
But
now I'm not sure. Oh, no. It doesn't sound French, does it?
No. But you know what I could also talk about?
Le Stilton.
Wallace and Gromit.
I like Wallace and Gromit. Do you know why I like Wallace and Gromit? When I get old and more leaky, I want my house to be like their house.
Okay.
I want my house to look after me. I want my bed to tip me out of bed and chuck me into my trousers. So I don't want to be cared for by a human being. I want to be in a Wallace and Gromit house.
Yeah.
I digressed.
Yeah, but fair enough. I think, and maybe we need to put this down as a future conversation. I saw a piece of tech the other week, which was a ceiling track hoist where the person can live independently with the ceiling track hoist and they can put themselves into the sling.
Just talk to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Right.
I want the house to look after me in 29 years' time.
Okay, so we're putting this out there to tech providers now who are willing to work with Tim to kind of reconfigure his house.
Yeah.
So he can have tech provision, so he can be like...
If you think of it, right? If I needed live-in care now, that's going to cost me 1,600 quid a week.
Yeah.
So what's that? 1,600 quid a week times 4, 6,400 a month times 12. That's about 80 grand a year.
Mm-hmm.
It won't cost 80 grand to tech enable my house. Not at all. Of course, the tech might break. For years, I've said that in the future, there won't be care homes.
Yeah.
And there won't be domiciliary care workers. So I predict in the future, that domiciliary care will be provided by robots.
Okay.
And there'll be somebody, a human, sat looking at a million computer screens, with one of them will flash up to say, Mrs. So-and-so's fallen over and she's wedged beside the toilet and the automatic hoist can't get her out. And then a drone will deliver a human being rapid response team. Look at Lucy's
See that?
Bemused.
Strangely, I can see that because, where we've gone in such a short period of time with technology, and technology is evolving so quickly. And I guess that goes back to what we were talking about, fishing in the same ponds and finding new cheese. You see, it's all connected. It is all connected. So if a provider is only going to do one model of care and think that, say, take dump care and all the staff do is either drive, and they don't think, actually, do you know what, if I got them electric bikes that have all got their own little...
Talking of which, right? You made me think of something. Chatting to my client today. The main reason he rang me was one of his workers had had a car crash.
Okay.
And she crashed the car that he bought for her to do domiciliary care calls.
Okay.
But this is a worker that isn't from the UK. She's from the Philippines. But then we were saying, well, maybe she's not used to driving a car because they all use motorbikes and mopeds there. So I said, well, why not get them mopeds? He said, I can't be doing that. I said, why not? Because you're buying them cars that are 3/4 empty. Why not get your domiciliary care workers mopeds? And the more we explored it, he said, yeah, I could get them the one with like the cover over the top so they don't get wet.
Yeah.
I said, and you can put a box on the back like Deliveroo for them to put their bag and PPE in. And because he had his cars wrapped, with the signs and stuff, said you could have the box wrapped and advertised, couldn't you? And you know what? It sounds crazy. Well, it's not, is it? It would work.
Absolutely not. The whole point is Wallace and Gromit was crazy. It was crazy, but it was really inventive and out there. And for businesses to survive, they've got to evolve.
A long time ago in the last century, I don't know, I used to work for a university in the bit of the university that sold expertise and technology to business. And my boss, our head of department, he had, do you remember those Windows screensavers that moved around so your screen didn't die out? And you could type words into it. Mine always said rude things. His was...
I can't imagine that from you, Tim, at all.
It did say rude things. His was innovate or die.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what humans do, isn't it?
Yeah.
We innovate. If we didn't, we'd die out.
Yeah.
Businesses aren't very good. And I'll give you a real example. 20th of March 2020. Picture it. I did my last...
I think I've got COVID. I don't know if I want to picture it.
Last face-to-face training course before Boris did the famous speech about lockdown on the 23rd. In a training room, and at about 3 o'clock, one of the council officers rushed in and made us all sit about 20 feet apart. Because that was going to stop us getting COVID so I could finish the course.
Okay.
And we had to do alcohol gel on our hands. Because you did then. Superhero gel. But then, I had no work. Nothing to do. So, what am I going to do? So, I start learning Zoom, the platform we're using to record this. And I start messaging my clients. And thankfully, most of my clients were local authorities. Not one, lots. Who needed people trained, and lots of people trained. I did my first Zoom course on the 26th of March. In between, I'd had to learn how to do it badly. At one point, I thought, I didn't even know you could share screen slides. I thought I'd have to have my projector next to me. Stop laughing, right?
Well, you've got to get a piece of paper and be like, oh, hold it.
And I started off using my laptop. Now, I wish you could see what I'm surrounded by now, but I've actually got 6 computer screens in front of me.
Do you know what? That's where you've got this vision for people sitting and watching behind super screens and monitoring people in their homes and sending
So
out.
I've got 6 computer screens. It's a new computer I've just had. So I've invested all of my clients' money wisely in 2,000 quid's worth of computer.
Okay.
So when I teach on Zoom, I can see them and I can see my presentation and I can see their faces. And it makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't innovated,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be in business now.
Yeah, exactly. Same
My
for me.
diary emptied. And you had to innovate as well, didn't you?
Massively so, yeah. I mean, for lots of different reasons, I had to innovate when I first set my own business up. You know, daughter was ill, mum died, daughter went into hospital. Oh, no one's going to be able to employ me if I'm got a daughter I've got to look after. So yeah, I had to set up my own business, and I did all sorts that throughout that COVID period. I'd done quality assurance before, I'd done interim management. I then ended up doing software building, IPC audits. I did leader reviews. Yeah, I actually worked with a company for, I think it was on and off for 3 months, where they needed to transfer all of their care plans into a care planning system. They got it on.
That must have been born in.
It was a less easy challenge, because it was like, I don't know these people, and the platform wasn't specific to the client group, and it was on one system, and but you know what, it paid the bills.
So I guess our message to the care sector is, firstly, are your eggs in the one basket? And risk manage that.
Yeah,
because
massively so.
You need to do that. If you've borrowed money from a lender, they need you to do it. You've got insurance, they need you to do it. Your family needs you to do it. Your staff need you to do it. And the people you support need you to do it. And diversify.
Yeah.
Diversify your client portfolio. It's basic risk management.
I think also, I would say on top of that, that if things go wrong and you haven't planned for it, don't sit in the problem. Think, think outside of it and ask, you know, reach out. What do I do? Where do I turn? How do I prevent this from happening? Because if all you do is bury your head in the problem, you just never get out of it. And
I'm going to share a Lucyism now.
A Lucyism? My God, I didn't know that was a thing.
What a Lucyism is? What were you saying to me after we chatted, after those panel discussions? People need to own it.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do.
That's the first Lucyism.
A Lucyism.
A Lucyism. I've invented a new word, right? It's called...
Don't need to own it.
Yeah, so I've invented a Lucyism. No, I've invented the term, you said it. People need to own it. Like, you owned your LinkedIn problem.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine to be sitting on the naughty step, because I've made a very productive use of the time, and I've been busy building a Harry Potter cupboard.
For your cheese?
No, actually, I was genuinely enjoying building a Harry Potter cupboard.
Potter cupboard?
Yeah, it's just a random small cupboard that I could
get. Oh, right, I see. You built a small cupboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just
Why?
Bizarre. Why? Well, okay. So
there's a space.
There's a Dalek in the room with me.
Okay.
Okay, so the Dalek used to be here, but the Dalek's now over there. And the Dalek needs to move out of here, because I'm looking at you, Tim, but in my fabulous peripheral vision, I can see a Dalek.
Okay.
So the Dalek needs to move into my son's bedroom. He is the builder of the Dalek.
Okay.
And
he's the one that's going to turn this crazy video into something beautiful, apparently.
Yeah, he is, because he's a YouTuber and he does this kind of stuff. You know, I'd love it if this ended up as big as his channel, which I think he's got now. He's just under 170,000 subscribers.
Not going to help you beat his channel, is it? He's going to make it so we get 7 followers and subscribers.
And those are the ones we've just paid.
Yeah. Have we paid anyone?
Not yet.
Okay.
And you can't, because you spent all your money on computer screen
I did.
and
And £4,000 having a tree cut down.
oh yeah, well maybe we have to save that. Well, I've just spent £6,000 having my roof fixed. But
I
that's,
had a tree cut down so it doesn't knock a hole in my roof.
yeah, I think your trees are a bit more traumatic than my roof. My roof was traumatic, but I think your trees are a bit more.
As I told you, that was cheap. My roof cost 38 grand.
Okay.
That make you feel better?
It does. It absolutely does. Perspective. Maybe we should have that down as a conversation another week. And do you know what, Tim? I think that probably brings us to the end of the first edition of the
We need to do one thing though before we go. I think you need to say who wrote that book about cheese, because you waved it up there, and we've talked about this poor person's book and we haven't said who it was. So,
Dr. Spencer Johnson.
So Dr. Spencer Johnson, thank you very much. I'm Tim Dallinger. This is Lucy Buxton. We will expect some royalties in the post for promotion.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think it's a book not just for social care providers and their staff, because it says, Who Moved My Cheese is a simple parable that reveals profound truths. It is an amusing and enlightening story of 4 characters who live in a maze and look for cheese to nourish them and make them happy. Cheese is a metaphor for what you want to have in life, whether it's a good job, a loving relationship, money, a possession, health, or spiritual peace of mind. The maze is where you look for what you want, the organisation you work in, or the family or community you live in. I gave my dad this book after the first lockdown. He really struggled. Mum had died a couple of years before. He'd moved in with us that first lockdown. And when he went home, he was lost. It took him months to read this book, which has got big writing in and has only got about 90 pages. Eventually, he realised he needed to go and find new cheese. He put his house up for sale and moved house.
We ought to do a future episode about animal-themed business and innovative books.
Yeah, well, I could tell you the story about the dog.
Have we got time?
Or my dog.
Maybe we should save that and tease people that we might talk about the dog next time.
Yeah, we could do. I'm sure there's probably an analogy or a metaphor in there somewhere.
Right, so shall we wrap this up?
I think so.
If you've lasted till the end, thank you very much for watching us. We hope that we told you a little tiny thing that might be possibly useful. We hope that we made you think, and we hope that we did it in a way that entertained you. Lucy, finally, has it been cathartic for you to confess and get it out in the open and public about? Has it been useful?
Yeah, I think so. And I'll tell you for why. If we have emotions and thoughts that we don't process and let go of, we just store them. And you know what? I'd just become more sitting in that pity party. And actually, I'm really excited that what I've been through has already helped you not to go through it, and it might help others.
You see what I did then? I was coaching the coach.
It was impressive. Do you know what? I'm super impressed.
I guess I've done NLP stuff, would you?
I'm impressed.
It's a long time ago. Right, just stop the recording.